Is it recording?
Yeah.
We're recording.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. The truth about negative people. So, why do people act negative? Well, understand that people act negative because of something going on within them. Let me explain. You see, at a point in my life when I was extremely negative towards other people and I was carrying lots of burdens and lots of bad beliefs about myself and my world and the world we lived in, and I was exposed to negative information and negative things all around me, I was quick to blame my external situation or my manager or my job or my situation. We all know people like this at times in our life. Well, let me speak from the past a little bit of being one. So I had a car sales job. I had a manager. I was easily blaming him for my lack of success in that job. I would often blame the environment of the sales environment and how it was competitive and all these other things. And even when I played sports at times, I would complain sometimes about not getting goals. And really, this came from a deep-seated insecurity within myself about my stance in the world and how I looked at myself. You see, negativity often comes from a negative outlook on oneself. I had a negative outlook on myself. I didn't really like myself. And it took a lot of soul searching and a lot of time to take a look at that and see how that was really affecting my life and how I was treating others. And the truth is, in my early relationships with women, with friends, I wasn't showing up. I wasn't showing up as a good friend. I wasn't showing up as a good partner, good boyfriend. And also the thing that hurts the most to look back on is that I wasn't always showing up as a good father. See, now in my life, when I look back at that, it's almost like I know that person so well, but I almost don't really want to know them at all. But that's the kind of the trick to the whole thing. You do have to know that person well so that you can keep a watchful eye in your life and use it as a compass to redirect yourself and the things that are most important for you. This comes with really aligning to the highest values that I had and aligning to the things that were really important to me. And at times I felt extremely selfish for doing this and for not sacrificing everything and just caring for everybody else first. And I did try to do that for a while, but I also started to resent people when I did that. Because I really needed to love myself first. I needed to understand that this guy in here was a good person. This guy in here had goodness in his heart. I was just never directed to it. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know the tools I needed. And the truth is that negativity that I was carrying was from a lot of negativity I was seeing when I was young, a lot of negative talk, a lot of fear that was around me in my environment. And I didn't have the compassion for myself to look at that and ask myself what I was really feeling about that whole experience. I had to process that and go back and process all these things that I had gone through to find out why I felt so negative about my life and the environment I was in and people that were around me and why I was so easily switched to anger and frustration. You see, I was a mess at a time in my life. I was in the military. I couldn't stand it. I got addicted to painkillers in the military, and I was also in a situation in the military where I had become very sick. So sick to the point where the medications that I was on, antipsychosis medications, by the way, had locked my jaw to a point where I couldn't really feel anything anymore. I had become numb. But you know, the weird thing that this numbness showed me was the numbness that I had felt from the drugs was almost like the numbness that I had felt towards myself anyway. And it had almost remanifested itself into the reality I was living to show me something, to tell me I was going through something, to tell me that this was long enough that I was acting and feeling this way. The truth is, I wasn't really acting, I was just suffering. out of the acts that I had experienced earlier in my life. Now, recounting these things and going back and reliving these things wasn't always easy, but necessary to actually growing and coming out of that negativity. So I wanted to share this with you to help you understand that people aren't truly negative at heart. We're all good at heart. It's our responsibility to change when we want to change, not when someone else makes us change or shoves a thing down our throat or makes us feel like there's something wrong with us or any of those things. Most of the time, the truth is that it happens through great suffering that we find that we need great change. At least for my story, it did. I want to tell you this because I don't truly believe that anybody's truly negative at heart. I do believe that we are all good at heart, and it's important for us to keep that in mind when we see that person flipping us off, driving that big truck next to us on the road, or we see people going through a difficult situation and taking it out on somebody else. I was once that person. Maybe we can look back to a point in our life where we were once that person. It's about taking all those regrets and the shame we feel around them and the guilt we may feel around them, putting it into perspective and owning it, taking full responsibility for our life, and that's all we can do. That's the best we can do. The best I could do was take responsibility for everything that had gone on in my life and not blame my parents, not blame anybody anymore. God love everybody that's been in my life because they've all helped me recognize a better me along that journey when I really take a good look inside myself. Sometimes when people are negative in our life, they're showing us something that we may still be carrying because our environment creates our environment. And that environment is important to take a look at and always take heed of what's going on inside to understand what's going on outside. This world is created from within, and it creates the world that we have on the outside. So that negative person may have traits that we might still be carrying. And when we really own that, sometimes we separate like oil and water with people like that, and that's okay. You know, negative people being in our life for too long can cause a lot of damage. I know that I certainly did in other people's lives, friends, relationships, exes, even my kids, which is what I look back with the most understanding of now, is that those little people in my life, those beautiful little blessings in my life, I was affecting them by being affected, by allowing myself to continue to be affected by the suffering that I was carrying and choosing to carry and not take responsibility for changing. I was inadvertently changing the course of their direction and their life, and not necessarily giving them the best chance at survival when I depart this beautiful place. So I had to take a good look. And it took listening to my daughter in the bathtub and telling me, "Daddy, I love you so much." And she just kept saying it over and over again. She was half joking, but she was absolutely serious. She was in one of those moods. And I just cried and cried and cried and cried and told her how much I loved her and how much she meant to me. There was still a part of me that didn't feel it fully because I wasn't fully there. I was still feeling guilty for the hurt that I may have caused her or the suffering that I may have put on my family. And those words that came from her made me feel the necessary feelings that penetrated my heart like a spear and allowed me to take a deeper look at how I looked at myself. Because I knew that was the only place I could change. It was the only place I could take that negativity out and truly open up to her innocent, beautiful love. So, negative people. Are there really negative people? Or do we all suffer differently? Do we all have different times in our life that we're willing to take a look at things and change. Willing to take a look within and change. Everybody's time for change is different, my friends. And although we may separate like oil and water from others who may be negative at times in our life, we must understand that it's important to realize we all go through our own trials and tribulations, and we all deserve the understanding and knowing that we're all good at heart. And there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Much love, and have a great day.